Happy Friday. It's Patricia Murphy. This is Seattle Now. This week, the city of Seattle invited everyone over 16 to come get vaccinated. No, seriously, come get vaccinated because there are thousands of open slots all of a sudden. South Seattle Emerald's Marcus Green and the Seattle Times' Melissa Hellmann are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. Governor Inslee sounds open to changing the bar for reopening again. He's currently going by new cases and hospitalizations, and right now King County is headed the wrong way on both. Yesterday, the governor was asked why not tie reopening to the number of vaccinations. Inslee says he's considering that, and stay tuned. More than 60% of King County's population has had at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. The mother of a teenager killed during last summer's Capitol Hill police protests is suing the city over his death. 19-year-old Lorenzo Anderson was shot and killed last June during the CHOP protest. The Capitol Hill Seattle blog reports Anderson's mother, Danita Sinclair, filed a federal lawsuit Thursday alleging the city failed to act by abandoning the protest zone and not responding in time to help her son. A suspect has been charged for the murder but has not been arrested. And those pandemic purchases are still a boost for Amazon's bottom line. The company said yesterday its profits tripled in the first quarter, more than $8 billion, up from $2.5 billion last year. Amazon also passed the $100 billion in revenue mark for the second quarter in a row. Well, here we are, another Friday in the Emerald City, where COVID vaccines are suddenly plentiful, but demand has waned. Maybe it'll pick up over the weekend? Melissa Hellmann is here. She covers South King County for the Seattle Times. Melissa, what's your pitch to people who haven't gotten vaccinated yet?
I'm envisioning a commercial where you see a profile of someone who's seemingly ordinary looking. And then they say, a lot of people worry that the vaccine will turn them into a flesh-eating zombie, but would you rather be dead or hungry? Just say yes to the vaccine. And then they turn to face the camera and you see that they're actually a zombie.
Oh, that's a good one. You could have gone into advertising. Your house would be a lot bigger, Melissa.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Marcus Green is here, too. He's the founder and publisher of the South Seattle Emerald. What's your billboard?
You know, there's been so much misinformation about this, vaccine that I would just fight it with more misinformation. And I would just tap into the vanity of people. I would say, you do know that this vaccine will literally take, 20 years off your appearance. And, so you obviously need to get that. And yes, it would be a bold-faced lie, but it would be a noble one, Trish. It would be a noble lie.
Speaking of noble, happy anniversary, Marcus. South Seattle Emerald is celebrating 7 years of providing relevant quality journalism this week.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes, 7 years. That feels like 70 sometimes. Those early days of working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week. Been a long time coming and just, so blessed to have a fundraiser that is part and parcel with our anniversary. And if anybody wants to give, they can do so on GiveButter/HBD Emerald. And that will go to continue to sustain our journalism.
Support journalism, support Marcus Green and the work they're doing at the South Seattle Emerald always. And wow, what a difference a couple of weeks makes, you two. Demand for vaccine seems to be dropping across the state. Of course, why is a little unclear at this point. The good news is 40% of adults in King County are fully vaccinated right now. Melissa, it kind of seems like we're getting to a point where we can see that there are people who just aren't motivated. But I feel like this was very predictable. People don't necessarily do what they need to do quickly.
Right. Yeah, it seems like right before everyone became eligible in April, everyone was just flocking. I was one of those people. I drove all the way to Bremerton to get my first shot.
Yeah.
And I think that it was sort of that hype that was really motivating people, but it does seem like people are dropping off. I'm hearing about a lot of people not making their second shot. So that's a concern.
Yeah, the momentum seems to have died down, which, maybe getting vaccinated at this point isn't the hottest thing it was a few weeks ago even. But Marcus, I hear chatter about vaccine hesitancy, and I even know people who are in my circle of friends, but the reasons aren't really what you might think. And I feel like it's very variable about out there about why people aren't getting vaccinated. Are you hearing from your friends things about this?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely varies. I mean, I think, especially living in South King County with, some of the, most diverse communities here in this area, a lot of people are hesitant because of the history of medical racism. A lot of people have brought up, the Tuskegee experiment where they, to make a long story short, essentially infected Black people with syphilis as test dummies. And let's just say that's a hard thing to live down for the United States government. And so there are just quite a few people who, just don't trust it. But also, I think, to Melissa's point, there's a lot of folks, I think the tech industry calls it, you have a lot of early adopters who want to run to something. Let's say this vaccine is like Friendster or MySpace, right? Everybody was flooding to it for a while, and then, it hit its peak and it soared down. And so, I'm only using this for the terms of this analogy. We need it to be more like Facebook, where it's, you have that early adoption, and then it's like, well, everybody's doing it, I got to be on it. So hopefully that will take place.
Well, and we also, need to start showing up at places where people will get a vaccine, right? We had the giant Lumen Field Event Center. That definitely is a draw for certain people. But, show up at a school, show up at a library, meet people where they are, you might have success.
Trish, show up at the grocery outlet in Skyway, which they just actually had a pop-up today that I was walking past, and it was good to see so many people, flocking towards there, and many of them, as I was stopping to talk to them, it was their first shot. So, hopefully get some more folks going. I've
noticed that access is definitely an issue, like access to transportation, even being able to make the appointment if you're not very tech savvy. A recent story that I did last week was on the Othello Station pharmacies in South Seattle, and a lot of elders are getting their vaccines there because they're able to just call and make an appointment. Also, there's 7 different languages that are spoken there, so there's translation services, and that's really accessible for the people who public health are really trying to get to. So I think more efforts like that, really reaching out to these community organizations or pharmacies that people trust might be the ticket.
Right, a familiar face, right? Your neighborhood pharmacist is the guy who's setting you up for your vaccination. Melissa, you got dose number 2 this week.
I did, yes. I got it on Sunday.
How are you doing? How are you feeling? What are you going to do?
I'm feeling okay. I was tired. I was a bit fatigued, but honestly, I've been feeling fatigued for a while, so I really like it.
I know, right? Life or vaccine?
Melissa, I got to say that you look 20 years younger after getting that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I haven't turned to face the camera yet, so you haven't seen that I'm actually a flesh-eating zombie. I don't know. Honestly, I feel like I have changed so much over the past year. I was pretty social before the pandemic, and I would see friends maybe like 3 or 4 times a week. But now I'm not even really wanting to talk to people on the phone. I feel like I just want to watch Handmaid's Tale. And so we'll see how much my life changes when I'm fully vaccinated in about a week and a half. The first thing that I'm going to do is that I found a Groupon for a personal trainer. So I'm going to start exercising. So I'm excited about that.
Well, if you are vaccinated and going out and about, definitely get it in while you can, because it might be our last weekend in phase 3 for a while. Right now, King County has too many cases and hospitalizations to stay where we are. Super. Depending on where the numbers are Monday, the governor might roll us back to phase 2. And of course, that means reduced capacity for a lot of businesses like restaurants and entertainment venues. Melissa, this feels like a real wake-up call that things are really just not going back to normal anytime soon, even though a lot of people are acting like they are.
Yeah, and it's honestly not that surprising. I feel like the writing has been on the wall for a while, and I know people who were going to these crowded bars, and actually I know one person who ended up getting COVID while he was there. So I honestly don't think that we ever should have gone to phase 3. Also, I feel like we're sort of getting contradictory information because the CDC is saying you can go out without your mask on if you're outside, but then also we're going back to phase 2, so we have to be more conservative. So I'm not surprised that this is happening. I think that it's going to upset a lot of people also.
I'm mad about it. Honestly, my heart really hurts for businesses who have to deal with this whiplash.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially, you see how this has exacerbated the inequality that we have in our society now where I believe there was just a piece that appeared I want to say it was the Wall Street Journal about CEO pay being 350 times the average worker now. I mean, so the Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk of the world, I know they get beat up a lot, rightfully so. But I mean, they're doing just fine, right? I mean, it's the local barista and the wait, and the waiter over at, Pizzeria Pacinelli that's really going to have a hard time in terms of just the vacillations, of income at this point. And how do you survive, meanwhile the rent and everything else is still due. So.
Well, and forget about booking a band, right? You can't book a band and expect the band to make its money, and nobody can make any money at 25% capacity unless the tickets are $1,000 a piece. Right.
And you're saying that Trish is somebody who does what acapella Prince covers for, the Zoom audience. So yes, obviously that's, not going to work out, but yeah, no, in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, I agree. This is just, it will be interesting to see what the economic ramifications of this are, and if there will be some level of, fiscal supports from whether the state or, additionally at the federal government level. We can wait and see.
I am 2 seconds from taking you up on Prince a cappella, Marcus. Anyway.
I'll be your Sheila E. any day, Trish, any day.
All right, one more story before we go. Local axe throwing enthusiasts rejoiced this week as local Capitol Hill axe throwing venue Blade and Timber announced it will start selling alcohol. Have either of you thrown an axe?
I cannot say that I have thrown an axe, and I got to tell you, when I heard about this, the first thought that came to my mind was like, an activity engaged in predominantly by white males, lethal weapons, and alcohol. Historically, that usually doesn't play out too well. I don't know. So, yeah, I think I'm going to stay away for a while. I think I'm going to stay away from that one for a while.
So I think that they're in cages, sort of like batting cages, where they're by themselves. So I don't think that they can necessarily hit someone else. At least when I've seen photos of this venue before, it looks like that. But it doesn't seem like a good combination.
Well, and it is a little bit of a cheap shot, right? Because it's like, axes and alcohol. Blade and Timber compiled like pages and pages and pages of safety data to persuade the Cannabis and Liquor Board that this was okay. So they have a track record for doing this. And I guess you only get 2 drinks in 90 minutes with an axe.
Yeah. And so it should be brought up that axes don't kill people. People with axes kill people.
Drunk people with axes kill people. Oh, my God. Well, I can say from my experience on a dart league that it doesn't always go well with sharp things and alcohol.
It's been a while since I've even used an axe because I grew up in Pennsylvania and we would just chop wood sometimes for our fireplace. But from what I remember, it's really hard to use. So I just can't imagine being drunk and then also throwing an axe and trying to hit it somewhere where it's not going to hurt anyone. Myself included.
Heck, I remember bowling with a couple of pints of beer, and it didn't go so well with the bowling ball. So I can only imagine the act.
Right.
Well, I think it's safe to say that mixing anything with alcohol, there's a potential for disaster. So good luck, Blade and Timber. We're going to leave it there. Thanks again to my guests, Marcus Green from the South Seattle Emerald and Melissa Hellmann from the Seattle Times.
Thanks for having us, Trish.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Trish. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Seattle Now is produced by Clare McGrane, Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, and Jason Pagano. Matt Jorgensen does our music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you Monday.
Thanks again to my guests. Hold on a minute. Sorry. It still says Tonvin and Phyllis Fletcher. I need to read my script to see who's here.
So glad this is not a live show.
I know, right? There's a reason for that.